Fantasy football never ends here at Sports Illustrated. That's why Michael Fabiano has been hard at work with his 2021 player rankings. So, Fads, I think you did a great job with these rankings. There's a lot to juggle here, right? Because we don't know the NFL draft. We don't know where some of these guys are landing in free agency. Let's start with the quarterback, something that caught my eye. Josh Allen at number 2.
Josh Allen was the QB1. Like, I know Patrick Mahomes was great. Lamar Jackson was great towards the end of the season. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks in the National Football League, but Josh Allen is my QB2 behind only Patrick Mahomes. He finished, of course, once again, 396.1 fantasy points. That's actually fifth all time, Bill, among quarterbacks based on fantasy points. And in his 3 NFL seasons, Allen ranked second among quarterbacks in rushing yards, only behind, of course, Lamar Jackson. And he actually leads all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns with 25, which is more than Lamar. I have always said I thought Josh Allen was the second coming of Cam Newton with a better and bigger arm. And now he's more accurate with Stephon Diggs in the offense. I think Josh Allen, at worst, is a top 3 quarterback.
All right, let's go over to running backs. Your top 5. It's loaded with the usual suspects. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley. But at number 6, you have, who was a rookie in 2020, he'll be his second year in 2021, Jonathan Taylor from the Colts.
I really love what I saw from him in the second half of the season. And he actually finished his rookie campaign 6th among running backs. So this isn't actually a bold prediction, right? When you look at his numbers in the second half of the season, he averaged 22.3 touches and 24.3 fantasy points in his last 6 games. So I have him ranked ahead of Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, players like that. I don't think it was a fluke. If the Colts bring back Marlon Mack, he's a free agent in 2021, then maybe I'll drop Taylor down a few spots. But for right now, I think he is a guy who's going to be a fantasy superstar for a long, long time. But as I mentioned, there are some question marks that need to be answered, including who the quarterback will be for the Colts in 2021.
All right, let's talk about some pass catchers in this next player. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be with Michael Thomas, who was number 1 in your rankings and pretty much everyone's rankings for 2020. But he comes in at number 9 for your 2021 initial set.
And that's tentative. And he's coming off an awful season. He was a wide receiver 95 after being a wide receiver 1. He was the wide receiver 41 on a points per game basis at 11.9. Here's the good news. In the 4 games started by Taysom Hill, Thomas was actually the wide receiver 15. He averaged over 16 points per game. He was targeted right around 9.3 times per game. The problem, he didn't score a touchdown. We also don't know, as you mentioned, who will the quarterback be? Will it be Taysom Hill? Will they re-sign Jameis Winston? Will they try and make a trade? We're just not sure at this point. So I have Michael Thomas in my top 9. There's a chance he could move up. There's a chance he could move down. And remember, the Saints, their salary cap situation, Bill, is the worst in the National Football League. So they have some movement to make this offseason.
We might not know who's passing the ball to Michael Thomas, but we do know who's going to be passing the ball to TJ Hockenson. He has a new quarterback in Jared Goff as a result of that big blockbuster trade with Matthew Stafford. And this is an interesting pick here because we don't know what's going to happen with Kenny Golladay. We don't know what's going to happen with Marvin Jones, but you have Hockenson at number 5 for your tight end ranking.
I don't expect the Lions to bring back Marvin Jones. I would think they'll probably either tag or try to re-sign Kenny Golladay because the wide receiver covered will be bare otherwise. Danny Amendola also a free agent too. Now, Hawkinson's coming off a great season, a breakout campaign. He was a tight end 5 this past season. He was 5th in targets. He was 4th in catches. He was 3rd in yards. He was tied for 9th in touchdowns among tight ends. He scored 9+ fantasy points in 12 of 16 games. So he was really reliable. He didn't have huge games. He didn't score more than 17 fantasy points in a game all season long, but he was solid. And even if the Lions lose a Marvin Jones, for example, or someone else, that may not be a bad thing for TJ Hockenson. It could be more targets in this offense. The Lions, much like the Saints, there's a lot of question marks that we need to have answered during the offseason. But although I don't love Jared Goff, and I've kind of been public about that, Goff is not a statistical death sentence for his receivers. Robert Woods was the wide receiver 13 last year. In the previous year, Cooper Kupp was one of the elite wide receivers in fantasy football. Tyler Higbee was great in the second half of 2019. So I don't think Goff being the quarterback there is necessarily going to hurt TJ Hockenson. I still think he is a top 5 player at tight end.
All right, so we only went through 4 players just now, but Fab, you have over 300 players ranked on your initial 2021 rankings, and I said it once, it's worth repeating. Fantasy football season never ends here at Sports Illustrated, so go check out Michael Fabiano's 2021 player rankings, si.com.